what's happening, Atmosphere Church fam? My name is Pastor Jim Cruz. I'm the lead pastor here at Atmosphere Church. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you for taking this step and joining one of our life groups. We know that every Sunday when we gather for our Sunday morning gatherings, that lives are being changed. But when people come into living rooms like you guys did tonight, this is when we really believe breakthroughs take place. This is where people find freedom, possibly for the first time in their lives. Because when you allow people into who you are, that is when we can really start building and cultivating true, authentic relationships. And we really do believe that life is better together. And so welcome to your life change. Welcome to finding freedom in this life group. And would you just take a moment and high five your life group host for opening up their home to you and to all the other people that are gathered in this living room watching this video. So just give them a high five, maybe a hug, and a what's up, knuckle bump, however you want to do it. But one of the things that we want to do in these life groups is we want to take the Sunday messages, the talks that we do, and we want to just kind of summarize them and put some questions together so that you guys can talk in your life group about the message. And we're going to propose probably 3 or 4 questions every video, but I want to make sure that you understand that you may not get to all the questions in this time that we have together. You may only get through one question, and that's okay because we want to highlight connection over content. It's more important for us for you to build and cultivate relationships together than it is for us to make sure that you get through this whole video and you answer all the questions. So I want to make sure I remind your life group host that it's not about finishing the video. It's about cultivating community within your life group. And at the same time, we want to be mindful of your time and make sure that we get this group ended on a timely manner so that those of you that have to get up early for work can go ahead and leave and not be kept too long. So with that said, before I even get into a summarization of our message on Sunday, when we talked about love is not a feeling, I want to ask a question. And this is an icebreaker question, but it has everything to do with our message that we gave on Sunday about love is not a feeling. And here's the icebreaker question. We're talking about reputation. So if we were to hijack a DeLorean time machine, because that's what we know time machines are made out of, DeLoreans. So if we were to get into a DeLorean and go back in time to the time you were in high school and we visited the high school that you went to and we started interviewing some of your fellow classmates, what kind of things would they tell us about you? In other words, what kind of reputation were you known for in high school? For instance, were you the smart, nerdy kid? Were you the athlete always playing sports all the time? Were you the rebellious teen that was into dark music? Or possibly were you the popular girl and the homecoming queen? And maybe you were the quiet student that never talked to anybody and that you just kind of kept to yourself. What kind of reputation were you known for in high school? What's funny about those descriptions that I just read, those were all the main characters from the movie The Breakfast Club. Remember that movie in the 80s? Classic 80s movie. But I want to ask your group right now, go around in a circle and maybe describe the reputation that you had when you were in high school. What kind of person were you known for in high school? So go ahead and take a moment, pause this video, and talk amongst yourselves, and we'll move on to the content of our message today. Wasn't that fun getting to know the people in your life group? Some of you had no idea they had that kind of reputation when they were in high school. But there's a reason why we wanted to talk about reputation. Because this whole talk on love is based upon something that Jesus said in the Gospel of John. He said, I want you to love one another in the same way that I have loved you. And he said, when you do this effectively, you will develop a reputation of being outrageous lovers so that people will know that you're connected with me. In our culture these days, if you were to ask somebody that's unchurched, that's not a believer in Jesus, to use a word to describe what a follower of Jesus is all about, I don't think in our culture they're going to use the word love. But Jesus said they will use the word love. So I believe we need to really look at this word love. And if we don't do anything else right, this is the one area that we need to get down and we need to get right so that we can live the love that Jesus has called us to live while we're on this planet. So we want to talk about this reputation, and we want to start off by really describing what this word love is all about. And the thing that we want to highlight in today's talk is that love is not a feeling. Love is many things according to the Bible, but one thing the Bible leaves off when it describes love is a feeling. But you think about our culture, we put so much stock in our feelings. We give it so much credibility. We give it so much authority that we believe the way we feel is our reality. And let me tell you something about your feelings. They may be real, but they aren't necessarily right. Your feelings may feel very real, but they are not what defines your reality. And as we talk about our feelings, we need to understand what feelings are more where they come from. Our feelings are actually responses from the chemical reactions going on between our ears and our brains. See, our feelings are that chemical reaction of the thoughts that we have learned to think when it comes to certain subjects. And those thoughts are really words that we hear and pictures that we see based upon all of these influences that we've had throughout our entire lifetime, even going back to when we were really, really small kids. And all of these influences we've absorbed into our minds, and these words that we hear from times past and pictures that we see from influences such as movies or songs or social media or even experiences that we lived through, maybe a car accident, maybe a trauma of some kind, that all of those thoughts come from these words and pictures that really create feelings that we feel. And what we need to talk about when we talk about love is that if we are to step in to this reputation that Jesus said that we're supposed to be known for, we need to cross out the idea that love is a feeling. I know culture has told us that, and we describe love a lot of times by feelings. You know, I've fallen in love, I've fallen out of love, but that is not a true idea or understanding of feelings. And the way we understand that love is not a feeling is something that Jesus said himself in the Gospel of Luke chapter 6. I'm going to read to you. We're going to begin at verse 27. And I'm going to read to verse 35. It says, "But I say to you who hear," that's everybody that's listening, even you guys in that living room, "love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. Whoever hits you on the cheek, offer him the other also. Whoever takes away your coat, do not withhold your shirt from him either. Give to everyone who asks of you, and whoever takes away what is yours, do not demand it back. Treat others the same way you want them to treat you." That's the golden rule. You may not have known that came from Jesus' lips. "If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners," or in other words, people who are far from God, "love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners in order to receive back the same amount." But here it is, verse 35. "But love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return, and your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High, for he himself is kind to ungrateful and evil men." Isn't that powerful? Think about what Jesus is saying. He's saying, if you can love your enemy, you can love anybody. And that's the whole point. When you love your enemy, you are completely ignoring your feelings. Matter of fact, the reason they're your enemy is probably because you don't feel really good about that person. So this kind of love that Jesus is commanding us to love other people with, in the Greek language, it's called agape love. And agape love is completely different than any love that is associated with feelings. It's a love that is based on a commitment of the will and no feelings whatsoever. A commitment to say, I love you in spite of the words and pictures that I think of when I think of you. It's a commitment to say, I'm going to look beyond all of these external things that want to make my mind view you in a certain way, and I'm going to make a choice to see you in the same way that God sees you. That's agape love. Matter of fact, if you're married, you made a covenant with your spouse to agape love them. It might have been feelings that attracted you to your spouse, but when you made a marriage covenant with your spouse, you made a covenant in a commitment of the will to love them, because here's what you may or may not know about marriage. Your spouse is sometimes not going to be very lovable. And there's going to be an easy thing that sets in if you think love is a feeling to say, I have fallen out of love with them. So just like marriage is a commitment of the will, that God is calling us to love other humans on this planet with that same commitment of the will. That I'm going to agape love them in the same way that Jesus has agape loved me. That he gave his life for me. And it cost him everything so that I might be loved. So the agape love looks very sacrificial. It looks like you're giving something away at a cost to yourself. So when you agape love people, including your enemy, I'm telling you, you are going to develop a reputation to be an outrageous lover. And you're going to look for ways of putting that outrageous love on display to your family, to your coworkers, to your church community, to your neighbors, to that person at Target, to that person at the gas station. This is the kind of love that Jesus is calling us into. And when we live that kind of love out loud, then we are going to develop the reputation that Jesus always envisioned his church to have. So we're going to put some questions up on the screen. We want you to take some time as a life group to answer these questions. And remember, it's connection over content. You may not get through all of these questions before your time is up, but that's okay, because there's always the next time we gather as a life group that we can talk a little bit more. And we will be talking about love for the next several weeks. So again, I'll turn it over to your life group host. Pay attention to the questions on the screen, and you guys have an amazing agape love time. See you next time.